Get ready for a story that will change your perception of one of the most famous actors of our time, and his most iconic role. Did you know that the legendary image of Jack Sparrow, which brought Johnny Depp worldwide fame and billions of dollars, almost cost him his career? Producers were furious, Disney's studio was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and lawyers were already preparing lawsuits. They considered his behavior on set unacceptable, strange, and even capable of destroying the entire project. Depp seemed to deliberately provoke everyone, refusing to play a proper pirate. His improvisations were so radical that they caused a real stir. Who would have thought that these very quirks would make Pirates of the Caribbean a true phenomenon? Forget everything you thought you knew about filmmaking, because what happened behind the scenes was no less exciting than the film itself. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on new exciting stories. Johnny Depp has always been an actor who wasn't afraid to experiment. Even before Pirates, he had a string of roles where his talent for transformation shone brightly, from the sensitive Edward Scissorhands to the eccentric Raoul Duke. But the image of Jack Sparrow became a real challenge for him and, at the same time, his greatest triumph. The idea of transforming a pirate into something between a rock star and a drunken mime didn't come to Depp by chance. He was inspired, surprisingly, by the Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards, his mannerisms, voice, and overall lifestyle. Depp saw Jack not just as a sea rogue, but as a rebel living by his own rules, gliding through life like waves, and never losing his sense of humor, even in the most dangerous situations. This concept radically differed from what the producers envisioned, who wanted to see a typical, heroic captain. Instead, they got a character who constantly swayed, mumbled indistinctly, and looked as if he had just woken up after a grand party. Depp insisted on his vision. He brought so many of his own ideas into Jack's character that his persona began to live its own life even before filming began. For example, the famous limp and characteristic hand movements were invented by him to show that Jack spends a lot of time on the unstable deck of a ship, and his body has adapted to it. Another interesting detail was his speech. Depp deliberately made it slightly slurred, as if Jack was always a little under the influence of rum, but at the same time, this gave him mystery and unpredictability. Of course, at first, this caused real panic at the studio. Is he drunk? Is he crazy? Is this even our pirate? Questions echoed from Disney management. Director Gore Verbinski was the only one who believed in Depp's vision and defended him against the angry bosses. He understood that this very unconventionality could be the key to the success of the film, which was initially considered a risky project based on a Disneyland attraction. The tension on set grew daily. Depp didn't just play the role, he became Jack Sparrow, immersing himself completely. He spent hours experimenting with intonations, facial expressions, and movements, searching for that spark that would make the character unforgettable. Costume designers and makeup artists were also shocked by his suggestions. He asked to add more dirt, old necklaces, and pirate trinkets that would tell the story of his travels without a single word. For example, the braids in his hair were Depp's idea. He believed that pirates, living at sea, didn't have the opportunity to wash their hair often, so they braided it to keep it out of the way. He also insisted on tattoos that would reflect Jack's life journey. Although most of them never made it into the final cut of the film, they were part of his internal world as a character. Even the famous red bandana was Depp's personal idea, as he believed it added defiance and vibrancy to the look. Which element of Jack Sparrow's image do you like the most and why? Write your answers in the comments. One of the most striking examples of his unusual interpretation was the use of gold teeth. Depp himself decided to get several gold crowns to give Jack a more realistic and rugged pirate look. Initially, this shocked the studio, but eventually it became one of the most famous details of his image. He even kept them in between takes, which further enhanced his immersion in the role. Another interesting point concerns his manner of speaking. Depp experimented with different accents and intonations to find a unique voice for Jack. He wanted Jack's voice to be low, raspy, but at the same time have a slight coyness and theatricality, as if Jack was constantly performing for an audience. All these seemingly minor details, which went beyond the script, caused many disputes. Disney management was on the verge of firing Depp. They simply didn't understand what he was doing. "He's ruining our film!" they shouted. But Verbinski, who had full confidence in Depp, insisted that the actor knew what he was doing. And he was right. When the film was released, the world was stunned. Jack Sparrow became a pop culture icon, and Johnny Depp received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. His unconventional approach, his dedication to the character, his courage to experiment, all of this made Jack Sparrow unforgettable. He proved that true art is born where there is no fear and where there is complete freedom of expression. This story shows how important it is to trust creators and allow them to follow their vision, even if it seems crazy. Imagine what would have happened if the studio had fired Depp. We would never have seen the Jack Sparrow that millions loved. This is a lesson for everyone working in creative industries. Sometimes you have to take risks to create something truly unique. Johnny Depp has always been a chameleon actor, capable of completely merging with his character. However, the role of Jack Sparrow became a real test of his acting skills and the patience of the film crew. He didn't just read lines, he lived them, weaving something of his own, something unpredictable, into every scene. For example, the scene where Jack first appears on screen, standing on the mast of a sinking ship, was entirely Depp's idea. The script called for a more traditional entrance, but Depp insisted that this would better reflect his hero's eccentricity and nonchalance. He wanted to show that for Jack, even the most critical situations are just another adventure. This episode immediately set the tone for the entire film and showed that Pirates of the Caribbean wouldn't be an ordinary adventure movie. He convinced the director that it would be a powerful visual hook that would immediately grab the audience's attention. And he wasn't wrong. This moment became one of the most famous in the entire film. Another nuance that is often discussed is Jack's strange body language. His swaying, awkward movements, excessive gestures, all of this was a conscious decision by Depp. He explained it by saying that Jack Sparrow, having spent most of his life at sea, was accustomed to the constant rocking of the deck. Therefore, even on land, his body continues to move as if he's standing on a ship swaying on the waves. This was a very subtle and profound detail that added realism and uniqueness to the character. Most actors would simply play a pirate who stands firmly on his feet, but Depp went further, creating a character with unique physiology. He even spent hours observing seagulls and other seabirds to adopt their movements and incorporate them into his walk. However, despite Depp's genius, Disney Studio was unsure of his vision until the very last moment. There were rumors that management even wanted to fire him and replace him with another actor. Only thanks to the unwavering support of director Gore Verbinski and producer Jerry Bruckheimer, Depp managed to defend his portrayal. They believed that his experiments, though risky, could lead to something extraordinary. And they were right. Imagine what would have happened if Disney had fired Depp and replaced him with someone else. Would Jack Sparrow be such an icon? Probably not. This example shows how important it is to trust the creative intuition of actors, even if their ideas seem strange at first glance. It also highlights the risk studios take by allowing actors and directors full creative freedom. After all, great films are often born on the edge of risk and innovation. And what about Jack's famous captain's hat? It wasn't just a costume element either. Depp insisted that the hat look worn, crumpled, and bear the marks of many adventures. He believed that the hat was an extension of Jack's personality, that it had weathered many storms and battles with him. He even requested that the hat be slightly too big so that he could constantly adjust it, which added even more eccentricity to the character. This was so detailed that Depp even participated in choosing the material and shape of the hat, insisting that it be made of high-quality leather that would age over time and acquire a unique look. Every scratch on it had its own story that Jack could tell. Depp's idea regarding his lines was no less interesting. He often improvised on set, adding his own jokes, strange exclamations, and unexpected turns of phrase to the dialogues. Many of these improvisations became iconic quotes from the film. For example, the famous line, "I'll be back for you, maybe," was entirely Depp's improvisation, which perfectly conveyed Jack's essence, his unpredictability and indifference to rules. This also shows how deeply immersed Depp was in his character, so much so that he could think and speak like Jack Sparrow off-script. He was a true master of improvisation, allowing him to adapt to any situation on set and create unforgettable moments. This ability to improvise also allowed him to make adjustments to the script on the fly, making it more dynamic and interesting. The filming of Pirates of the Caribbean was a real challenge for the entire team. Unstable weather, complex stunts on ships, underwater filming, all of this required tremendous effort. However, thanks to Johnny Depp, the filming process was filled with unexpected moments and fun. He constantly joked, kept the team's spirits high, and even sometimes came to the set in full Jack Sparrow makeup, even if his scenes weren't scheduled for that day, just to entertain his colleagues. This created an atmosphere of lightness and allowed the entire team to work with greater enthusiasm. He even organized small parties for the film crew after difficult workdays to boost team spirit. His ability to be not only an actor but also a source of positive energy distinguished him from many other stars. Another important aspect of Jack Sparrow's character is his attitude towards women. He was always charming, but at the same time a bit audacious and never sought serious relationships. Depp believed that this perfectly reflected the freedom of a pirate's life. Jack doesn't get attached to anyone. His only true love is the sea and his ship, the Black Pearl. This philosophy of life, according to Depp, was key to understanding Jack's character. He wanted the audience to see Jack as a free-spirited adventurer who isn't afraid of loneliness, but on the contrary, values it. His relationships with Elizabeth Swann and other female characters were more of a game, a flirtation, rather than something serious. This allowed the image of Jack as an eternal wanderer to be preserved. Pirates of the Caribbean became a true phenomenon in world cinema, grossing billions of dollars at the box office and receiving numerous awards. And a significant part of this success undoubtedly belongs to Johnny Depp. His courage, his talent, and his belief in his own vision of the character made Jack Sparrow one of the most beloved heroes of our time. This film became an example of how innovation and creative freedom can lead to unparalleled results. It also shows that sometimes you have to go against the grain to create something truly outstanding. Who knows how many more untold stories are hidden behind the scenes of our favorite films? Perhaps these very quirks are the key to the true magic of cinema. What's your favorite unexpected detail from the movie that you learned about after watching it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel